Hi, Mrs. Parker's class. It's Mr. John from WabTech. Hope you guys are all having a nice springtime. We've had some really nice weather over the last few weeks. Hopefully, you've been able to get outside and do some playing. Only a couple more weeks left of school before summer vacation as well. Hope that'll go by quick, and summer will be here before we know it. I understand you're learning or you're reading about some fairy tales. I thought I'd read two for you today. This first one is a little bit of a spin on a classic. We're big Disney fans in our house. My girls love going to Disney, and this first one's called Mickey and the Beanstalk. It's similar to Jack and the Beanstalk. So, Mickey and the Beanstalk. Long, long ago, there was a place where the sun smiled all day. It was called Happy Valley. Everything in Happy Valley was pretty and green and happy. The people who lived there were happy too. High on a hilltop overlooking this sweet little place stood a beautiful castle. In the castle lived a golden harp who sang the day away. The harp had Happy Valley under her very happy spell. Then one day, a terribly sad thing happened. Someone stole the golden harp from the castle and broke the magic spell. Everything stopped working and growing, and everyone stopped feeling happy. Soon there was nothing to eat, and people grew sad and hungry. 3 farmers decided there was nothing left to do but to sell their cow. Farmer Mickey took Bossy into town. When he returned, he showed Donald and Goofy the 3 beans he'd gotten for the cow. 3 beans, cried his friends. We can't live on 3 beans. Donald grabbed the beans and threw them on the floor. But they are magic beans, Mickey tried to explain as he sadly watched the beans roll through a crack in the floor. During the night, under the very bright moonlight, the beans began to grow. They grew into a huge stalk that climbed all the way to the sky, carrying the farmer's little house with it. When the hungry farmers awoke, they looked out the window. Happy Valley was gone. All they could see from the beanstalk was a very big castle and a lot of fluffy clouds. Let's go, cried Mickey. Whoever lives in that big castle must have plenty of food. Maybe he'll share. Sure enough, when they crept inside the castle, they saw a huge bowl and plates filled with food. As they finished eating, they heard a tiny voice call out to them from a box on the table. Who are you? Mickey, Donald, and Goofy asked. It is I, the golden harp, said the tiny voice. A giant stole me and brought me here to sing for him. The farmers were frightened when they heard the word giant. They also ran away immediately. But Mickey reminded them that they couldn't leave without the magic harp. We have to rescue her and save Happy Valley, Goofy said. Just then, everything in the room started shaking. Somebody as big as a giant was coming. Mickey, Donald, and Goofy ran and hid. The giant walked over to the table and made himself a sandwich. He was just about to take a bite when he noticed Mickey wriggling around. Run! Mickey shouted to Donald and Goofy. The giant was very angry. He chased them around the room until he had 2 of them cornered. Then the giant put Donald and Goofy into the box with the golden harp, locked it, slipped the key into his pocket. Mickey hid quietly until the giant fell asleep. Then he tiptoed over to the box and knocked. Get the key out of his pocket, the golden harp whispered. Ever so carefully, Mickey did just that. The giant stirred in his sleep, but he didn't wake up. Mickey led his friends and the harp out of the box. Quietly, they made their way to the front door of the castle. But just as they were sneaking past the giant, he opened one eye and saw them. What a roar they heard. Mickey decided to distract the giant so his friends could get the harp to safety. He teased the giant, who chased him all over the castle. Finally, Mickey jumped out an open window and ran over to the beanstalk. He slid down after his friends. Donald and Goofy grabbed a saw and began to cut down the beanstalk. The giant kept climbing down, down, down. When the beanstalk fell, he crashed right through the ground. The farmers took the golden harp back to her castle on the hilltop, where she could sing once more, and Happy Valley was once again a very happy place. Okay, so that was a good spin on a classic. This second one is actually a German fairy tale. It's called Rapunzel. Oh wait, no, not Rapunzel. I got my mind set on Disney here. It's called Rumpelstiltskin. So we'll go ahead and get started with Rumpelstiltskin. Okay. Once there was a poor miller who had a beautiful daughter. On his way to town one day, the miller encountered the king. Wanting to impress him, the miller said, "I have a daughter who knows the art of spinning straw into gold." Now the king had a passion for gold, and such an art intrigued him. So he ordered the miller to send his daughter to the castle straight away. When the girl was brought before him, the king led her to a room that was filled with straw. He gave her spools and a spinning wheel and said, "You may spin all night, but if you have not spun the straw into gold by morning, you will have to die." With that, he locked the door, and the girl was left inside alone. There sat the poor miller's daughter, without the slightest idea how anyone could spin straw into gold. For the life of her, she did not know what to do. She grew more and more frightened, and then she began to weep. Suddenly, the door sprang open, and a teeny man stepped in. "Good evening, Mistress Miller," he said. "Why are you sobbing?" "Oh," the girl cried, "I must spin straw into gold, and I don't know how." "What will you give me if I spin it for you?" the little man asked. "My necklace," answered the girl. The little man took her necklace and sat down at the spinning wheel. He pulled 3 times, whirl, 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 and the spool was wound full of gold thread. He fitted another spool on and went whirl, whirl, whirl. 3 pulls, and that one was full too. And so it went until morning, when all the straw was spun on the spools were full of gold. When the king came at sunrise, he was amazed and delighted, but all the gold only made him greedier. So he led the miller's daughter into a larger room filled with straw, and he ordered her to spin the straw before dawn, if she valued her life. The girl did not know what to do. She began to weep. Once more the door opened, and the little man stepped in. "What will you give me if I spin straw into gold for you?" he asked. "The ring on my finger," answered the girl, and the little man took her ring. Then he set the spinning wheel whirring, and before the night was over, he spun all the straw into gleaming gold. Shortly after sunrise, the king returned. Piles of golden spools glowed in the morning light. The king rejoiced at the sight of so much gold, but still he was not satisfied. He led the miller's daughter to a third, even bigger room that was piled high with straw. "Tonight you must spin this straw too," ordered the king, "and if you succeed, you shall become my wife," because he thought, "I could not find a richer wife in all the world." When the king had left, the little man appeared for the 3rd time. What will you give me if I spin for you yet once more?" he asked. "I have nothing else," the girl replied. "Then promise that when you become a queen, your first child will belong to me," said the little man. The miller's daughter gasped. How could she promise such a thing? Then she thought, but who knows whether that will ever happen? and she could not think of another way to save herself. She promised the little man once again, who spun the straw into gold. When the king came in the morning and found everything as he had wished, he married the miller's beautiful daughter, and she became queen. A year passed, and the queen brought a handsome baby boy into the world. She gave scarcely a thought to the little man, but one day he appeared suddenly in her room. "Now give me what you promised," he demanded. The queen pleaded with the little man. He could take all the royal treasure if he would only let her keep her child, but her pleading was in vain. She began to weep piteously that at last the little man was moved. "I will give you 3 days," he said. "If by the end of that time you know my name, you may keep your child." Long into the night the queen sat and through the next day thinking over all the names she had ever heard. That evening the little man returned, beginning with Caspar, Melchior, Balthazar. The queen recited every name that she knew, one after another, but to each one the little man replied, "That is not my name." The second day the queen had inquiries made in town, searching for new names, and when the little man came that evening, she posed the strangest and most unusual ones to him. She tried Beastie Ribs and Lego Ram and String Bones, but he would only reply, "That is not my name." Now the queen grew truly frightened, and she sent her most faithful servant into the woods to look for the little man. The servant searched through thickets and over clearings deep into the forest. At last, near the top of a high hill, she spied him. He was riding on a cooking spoon. Riding on a cooking spoon around a great fire and crying out, "I brew my beers, I bake my loaves, and soon the queen's own son I'll claim. Oh, lucky me, for no one knows that Rumpelstiltskin is my name." The servant made her way back as fast as she could manage, and at midday reached the castle. You can imagine how glad the queen was when she heard the name. Late that evening, the little man arrived. "Now, Mrs. Queen," he said, "do you know my name, or do I take your child?" So the queen asked him, "Is your name Will?" "No." "Is your name Phil?" "No." "In that case, is your name Rumpelstiltskin?" "The devil told you that! The devil told you that!" shrieked Rumpelstiltskin, and in a fury he jumped on his cooking spoon and flew out the window. And he was never heard from again. So those were the 2 fairy tales. I hope you enjoyed listening to the stories today. Hope you guys have a good rest of your school day, and we will talk soon. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.